You know, some moments in history are so massive, so profound, that they can actually be captured in a single sentence. Today, we're going to dive deep into one of those moments, an event that didn't just mark the end of a war, but completely changed how we understand what humanity is capable of. So let's get right into it.
Believe it or not, our entire explainer today is built from a single, very short source document. It's titled Day 27, Liberation of Camps. It has just one sentence inside, but the implications, well, they're just enormous. We're going to unpack that sentence, literally word by word, to really get a feel for its true weight.
And here it is. Allied forces discovered camps and exposed Nazi crimes to the world. Just let that sit for a second. This isn't just a dry statement of fact. No way. This is a story of revelation. It marks the exact moment a hidden, unimaginable horror was dragged out into the light for everyone to see.
See, the liberation of the camps wasn't just about winning a battle or taking territory. It was a massive turning point for the entire world's consciousness. It was the moment that all the whispered rumors, all the fragmented reports suddenly solidified into undeniable, horrifying reality. And this quote just illustrates that shift perfectly. The discovery wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of a really painful but absolutely necessary process. It forced the whole world to stop, to look, to listen, and to finally confront a truth that just couldn't be ignored anymore.
Okay, so let's break down the source sentence itself. Every single word here carries so much historical weight, it's incredible. We're going to start with the first two words.
Allied forces. That's so crucial. This wasn't just one country's discovery. It tells you right away that this was a coalition of nations. We're talking Americans, British, Soviets, Canadians, and others, all stumbling upon this horror together. It immediately sets the stage for this being a shared international experience.
Now, let's really zoom in on that word discovered. Think about that. The camps weren't a primary military target they were setting out to capture. The Allied forces didn't fully know what they were even looking for. So this word, discovered, it just radiates shock, unpreparedness, and the sheer unexpected horror of it all.
And this definition really drives that point home, doesn't it? It was a moment of unforeseen revelation. This wasn't about conquering a piece of land. It was about becoming aware of a situation for the very first time. And the world was just not ready for what it was about to find.
Okay, let's move on to the next part of the sentence, because you can see how it builds. The whole thing pivots right here. It moves from the private act of finding something to the very public, deliberate act of showing it to everyone.
And look at this distinction because it's everything. Discovery, that's an internal realization. It's the moment a soldier sees the truth with their own eyes. But exposure? Exposure is a deliberate choice. It's a conscious decision to share that truth, no matter how hard it is. And that's what gives the discovery its global power.
And that is the heart of it, right there. To expose something is an active decision. You could even say it's a moral act. It's about taking something that was designed to stay buried in darkness and intentionally pulling it out into the light for the entire world to witness.
Which brings us right back to our text. They didn't just expose camps, they exposed Nazi crimes. That wording is so important. It frames what they found not as some unfortunate byproduct of war, but as a deliberate system of atrocities. And the audience wasn't just their commanding officers. The audience was the world.
So, this act of exposure, it had immediate and permanent consequences. It placed a brand new burden on the entire planet, the burden of knowing. You couldn't unknow this.
So let's look at the full sentence one last time. When we read it now, we don't just see a statement, do we? We see a chain of events. It's a sequence where one action just inevitably leads to the next, with consequences that ripple across the entire globe.
And here is that chain. It's like dominoes falling. It starts with the absolute shock of discovery. That discovery leads to the moral decision to expose it. That exposure creates universal knowledge, completely stripping away any possibility for anyone to say, "I didn't know." And that knowledge creates a permanent legacy that has shaped international law, ethics, and our collective memory ever since. This entire chain reaction leads to the creation of one single, shared truth. Before this, you had bits and pieces, rumors, whispers. But after this exposure, the world was left with a single, undeniable historical record, a unified fact shared by all of humanity of what was found and what must never, ever be forgotten.
And so that leaves us with this final thought, this lingering question. The sentence tells us what happened back then, what they discovered and what they exposed. The question it leaves for us right now is, what do we do with that knowledge? Now that we have seen through their eyes, what is our duty to remember?